With regard to Ace Magashule, is it done and dusted? Well, the ball is in his court. He was charged on 2 accounts of which he was found guilty. And he was given an opportunity to appear before the DC. He did not appear before the DC. He was given 7 days after the decision was taken. He did not take up that opportunity to respond within 7 days to expulsion. So we don't know what he's planning, to form a party or to leave or to still appeal to the National Executive Committee or anything of that sort. We don't know. All what we know and what we have read and what we have seen is that he said the revolution continues and that he will respond at an appropriate time. So we don't know what is that response. And all what we have seen is the mobilization on the ground, which has failed successive attempts to mobilize on the ground, banning of ANC property and T-shirts in his name, which he has not condemned. All what we have seen is him going to ANC former leaders and presenting himself as a person who's in a dilemma, when the options for him were there in terms of the party processes. So you can only be a person who's facing a dilemma and a conundrum politically if ever you have exhausted all the processes, and that these people did not give me a choice but to leave. So all what we have equally seen is the WhatsApp messages of mobilization in his name, that he's been mobilizing, hard at work, mobilizing in the areas of the Free State, in Metsimahulu and the Kwakwa areas, Maloti Apufung, mobilizing our structures and councillors to join his movement. Where that movement is going, we don't know. That's what we see and happening on the ground, and the pronouncements that other political parties are actually talking to him. We will respond adequately to Ace whenever he decides to speak about the ANC or anything. For now, we pause and we defend the integrity of our processes and the disciplinary processes of the ANC, which anyone can subject those disciplinary processes to review if they think they are treated unfairly. There is an appeal in the ANC. There is the National Executive Committee. If you think you are treated unfairly by the NDC, you appeal to the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeal. That Mkijima's committee, Ubabu Mkijima, the chair of the ANC Disciplinary Committee, we believe that it has erred in terms of the following, and I therefore petition the appeal, which is chaired by Johnny Tilange. If Johnny Tilange overturns you, you can come to us, the National Executive Committee, and plead that you have been treated unfairly and therefore you don't deserve to be expelled from the ANC. So all those processes are at his disposal. So that's why I'm saying the ball is on his court. And all what we're seeing in the public discourse is this thing that plays itself out in the form of this attack on the ANC assets and property by people who call themselves Magashule's supporters, who attack the ANC in the manner in which they do. We have now unleashed our structures, wherever they are, that they must rise and defend the ANC and not allow the ANC to be distorted in the name of an individual who was given an opportunity to defend himself and answer to the charges that were put before him by the organization. He has not. So our organization must rise. We must not wait for the moment where things will happen and get out of hand. We must never allow anybody to bring the ANC into a state of total disarray for pursuance of personal interest. That must never be allowed by the African National Congress. We know that there's been outright mobilization on this matter politically, to the point where in which we are called upon to frown upon organizational internal processes. Where will the ANC be if every DC process will be frowned upon by its leadership at the expense of an individual? This organization will die, and that is not what we're about to do. Comrade Ace, as a former Secretary General and a leader of the ANC, knows what is good and right to be done, and that's what is important. So we draw no joy on the expulsion of anyone, because we know years of people have accumulated in the struggle, and how difficult it is just to recruit one member. So we draw no joy and celebrate the expulsion of anyone. So Ace Magashule, the ball is in his court. Expulsion of former ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule. The expulsion of former Secretary General E.S. Magashule was confirmed, regrettably, following his failure to submit representation on reasons why he should not be expelled from the ANC after the expiry of a stipulated period of 7 days duly communicated to him. The ANC derives no joy in the expulsion of any member, hence Comrade Ace was given time to mitigate against the recommended verdict of his expulsion. And in this regard, the ANC is duty-bound to uphold its integrity and internal organizational disciplinary processes. On allegations against ANC MPs, the NWC noted the allegations made by the suspended public protector, Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, regarding ANC members of parliament, Comrade Phemima Jodina, the chief whip, Comrade Qubutile Kyanki, the chairperson of the Section 194 inquiry, and the late Comrade Tina Jumat Peterson. The ANC condemns and distances itself from any attempt to undermine processes conducted in terms of the Constitution and the laws of the Republic, for which it waged a determined struggle in which many sacrificed life and limb and liberty. Accordingly, the ANC views the recordings purporting to reflect statements by the late Comrade Jomat Peterson with concern. Regrettably, she is no longer in a position to explain or account for the statements attributed to her. The ANC is also concerned that the reputations of the chief whip and the chairperson are being of the inquiry, are being subjected to attacks on the basis of hearsay evidence, devoid of any credible and independent corroboration. In this regard, the NWC reaffirms its confidence in their leadership and support their full cooperation with the Parliamentary Ethics Committee as well as internal ANC processes. Condolences, the NWC dipped its revolutionary banner in honor of the memory of Comrade Tina Jomat Peterson, Comrade Amos and Betty Kumede, Comrade Sillo Mudibedi, and Comrade Zoliswa Funiselo. Process, but most importantly, to work very hard in the context of the law to expedite processes that will arrest the continued influx of illegal immigrants in our country. Now, there is a definition of immigration and refugees. And refugees are people that come to your country for various reasons, including political asylum and so on. But that is totally different from people who come to your country illegally in numbers like we have seen. And as a result of porous borders, and that to come to South Africa is easy more than any other country in the world. So that is why we applaud the work of the border management, but that on its own is not enough. So we need to deal with this question of immigration in protection of the citizens, including issues of employment and the kind of work opportunities that will be preserved for South Africans in our country. On the rater, like I briefed, we will give an update on that matter. The rater has been traced to be in Germany, in the city of Hamburg. The court in Pretoria have ruled in our favor that we must serve him the papers, which we have done, for a person like him who is a South African but not residing in the country. So there's a tedious process in relation to this, because it has got to go through the South African embassy, which must then serve the papers to him. And to this point, that process has started, and we just need to get the details of it in terms of the advice we will get from our lawyers. With regard to BRICS, Ntebu, and President Putin coming to South Africa, do we think we should have abandoned the ICC? Look where we come from with this. In 2017, we had a resolution which we took that we must get out of the ICC. In the last conference, that resolution was rescinded. The National Executive Committee have implemented, not for purposes of President Putin, to say that how do we deal with the conundrum of members, head of state, who are faced with this challenge of warrant of arrest and so on, and having to come to our country for one reason or the other. How do we deal with that? Now, not South Africa, the United Kingdom have implemented the amendment on the Rome Statutes for their country to provide immunity for heads of state who might be faced with challenges of this nature to can come to the United Kingdom. We are doing the same here. Not working against our own resolution to rescind the decision to work out, but we are saying we must amend. We have given this mandate to our lawmakers to implement this, so that we don't answer the question in future after President Putin to another president. What do we do? So before you come and attack us on it, you must remember it started elsewhere. Countries can do this to preserve their own sovereignty and autonomy on matters of this nature. Now we are pursuing peace. Putin cannot come to South Africa. We must go to him as a president. And therefore, because of this warrant, we've got BRICS coming to our country. There is a conundrum because we're signatories. How do we deal with that matter? Not even compared to al-Bashir, who came to this country despite the fact that there was no BRICS or anything of that sort, but AU coming to our country, and he had to come. And then we had to suffer the consequences for that because we are signatories to the ICC. So that's why we take this route of amending the Rome Statutes going forward. But at the present moment, as an ANC, we've got no mandate from our conference to get out of ICC in Tebu. Our conference is very clear that rescinded the decision of 2017. And to this extent, our act on the matter of amending the Roman statutes, even when we succeed in relation to that, which we will succeed, the period of the BRICS summit will have long passed. But that will remain in the history records for guiding future administration about how to deal with matters of this nature, because it's not about to end with President Putin.